Hello community, Mario VX here with another video today, a Skarner guide, extensive Skarner jungling guide. I just played another great game today that worked out really well. Everything that could possibly succeeded, and so it's the ideal opportunity to make a proper Skarner jungling tutorial. Alright, so let's start out here. For a team composition, I'm Skarner in the jungle. We have Anivia mid, Darius top lane, Corki and Taric going bot lane. I'm pre-made with Taric, but that doesn't change much. On the other team we have Teemo and Draven bot lane, a bit uncommon composition. Well, sometimes see Teemo support, but not that often. Gragas in mid lane and Renekton top, and they got Jin Zhao in jungle. Okay, so where to start? Maybe before the game starts you want to take runes and masteries. And summoner spells, of course. Those are the three first decisions you have. For the game here, it's not really important for us. I just saw first blood by 2 men in weight. That happens. But I'll just focus less on commenting too much on the game, but more actually get this tutorial focus on Skarner jungling. For runes I use 6 marks of hybrid penetration, and it's both armor penetration and magic penetration, because Skarner does both physical and magical damage, quite balanced. So he actually profits from those hybrid penetration runes. Seals, obviously flat armor for jungler, as any jungler. I don't know any jungler that can jungle without those 13 additional armor at the beginning. Can I seal it that way? Ah, that's great. But it's not... of course I have to focus like that, yeah. So that gives us a nice armor value at early levels, and glyphs, magic resistance per level. You won't take the flat ones, since in early levels you don't get too much magic damage, since all the jungle creeps only do physical damage, and when you gank someone then you don't expect them to deal much damage to you. Not in early levels, they will just run. Yeah, so far in terms of runes, oh yeah, the quintessences I take an attack speed, because that's pretty good early. I also take 3 attack speed marks, so I got 6 hybrid penetration and 3 attack speed. Yeah, for a jungling route I have to intercept this now and get on masteries later. Obviously you have to start blue buff, since Skarner uses his ability to farm the jungle, especially in early levels. And it's always great if you can also take later blue buffs, because that's gonna speed up your jungle very much. Very mana intensive champion. You can start at the wolves if you want, but I personally prefer starting at blue buff, and then when you're level 2 you're just gonna skill your E on the second level. Fracture. That's important. For me that works out a lot better. Your E gives you a heal possibility, and that's pretty useful. The heal is really helping you out in the jungle, keeping your health up, whereas the shield is actually more for ganking. It's not so useful early on. To be more precise on that, your shield only gives you attack and movement speed as long as it is active. Since it's an absorption shield, got a flash there, that means as soon as you've taken 72 damage in that case, then you immediately lose all the buffs. That means the shield actually only gets useful in jungling at a bit higher levels, when it actually benefits some auto attacks. You can get some more auto attacks with the attack speed buff. That way the 70 hit points are gone way too fast, and then well, doesn't help you out anymore. Whereas your E, Fracture, works as a damaging spell. It's a linear skill shot that marks everything it hits. It doesn't collide with anyone. And as soon as you attack by any means a target that has been marked, then you get a heal out of that. So that means when you're jungling, you will try to hit every creep within a layer with that E, and then trigger it before it times out, so you get the maximum heal. And if you find that at the end of the layer, when they are all left with almost no HP, then you shouldn't, and you see that your E is almost on cooldown, off cooldown, then you can just wait a bit, maybe auto attack those that are not that low already, and then last hit them with your E, because if you kill something with that E, you also trigger it automatically. It just does not trigger the heal if they are hit, but then it times out. Non-lethal hits, but and then time out. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have bypassed the ability details for those of you who are not that familiar with them. The passive, first of all, gives you cooldown reduction, flat decreased cooldown by a half or 1 second on all your abilities whenever you auto attack anything. So that means when you get auto attacks, then you also shorten the cooldowns of your abilities. That means you can use your abilities more often. So practically when you're ganking or fighting, then you should really focus on doing many auto attacks, as many as possible, to get those abilities off cooldowns. That's your passive. Your Q, a bit difficult to understand. I didn't understand it for pretty long, till I found out how it actually works. The first time you use it, when you didn't use it early on, then it only does the physical damage component that scales with attack damage. And when you do that, then you charge your shares basically, and when you use it again, then it does additional magic damage on top of that, and the magic damage proportion scales with ability power, whereas the physical damage proportion scales with attack damage. So it's not like from the second use on it's only magic damage, but the magic damage is added on top of that. So from the second use on, it does more damage. The first use is just for charging up. That's a bit difficult. I took quite time to figure it out, how that actually works. But I fortunately know now. Okay, your E I also explained, and the W we had Crystalline Exoskeleton. Crystalline Exoskeleton is mostly for ganks, and later in fights for the stickiness. When someone's running away from you, then the increased movement speed helps you to catch up to him faster, and that way you have a higher effective attack speed on enemies that are running away from you. And you need that effective attack speed. If you got like, I don't know, 2 attacks per second against a still standing target, then that won't help you anything if you're too slow and can't stick to them. Because then you only hit them like very rarely. That's how often you can hit them if they're trying to run away from you. Really depends on your slows and your movement speed, not your attack speed at all. Okay, we had that's E. The ultimate is the most important thing about Skarner. The ultimate can suppress an enemy and then you can pull him around. You Surely I've seen that already. That's just the first thing one learns about Skarner. To have use of that later on, you will need to have a bit tanky build. You can't just build damage and then expect to walk into the entire enemy team to their backlines, grab their AD carry and then pull him out and not take damage there. I mean, when you say it like that, and you may say, yeah, that's clear, but sometimes people just build too much damage and neglect their survivability, and then they'll be completely useless in teamfights. Without damage it doesn't work. Yeah, so far to abilities. We can get back to Masteries now. Masteries, I use a very unusual mastery page composition. I got 14 points in the offense tree, that is 4 points in attack speed and then 5 points in each the physical and the magical damage branch, to get the relative penetration of both, because that synergizes with my flat penetration runes. And yeah, you can use both the attack damage because your attack speed is pretty high with your W, and your Q also scales with the physical damage proportion scales with attack damage, so attack damage is quite a nice stat. Go for it, and you need armor penetration for the same reason. Whereas the ability power is not just about dealing damage on Skarner. That's what makes ability power just great on Skarner. That's the reason why I'm going to buy Rabadon's Death Cap in this game later on. But we'll get to that later. The shield amount of your absorption shield scales with ability power. That means the more ability power you have, the more the shield actually is going to absorb. And the healing amount from your E also scales with ability power. So that's just two reasons why ability power not just increases your damage, but also increases your survivability. And that makes it a great stat on Skarner after all. So 14 points in the offense tree, then you got 9 points in the utility tree, just enough to get the buff. There's man, I forgot what it's called. When you spend the 9th point in the utility tree, you can get this buff that makes buffs last longer on you. It prolongs the duration of monster buffs that you have on you. I completely forgot its name, but I think you know what I mean. That makes blue buff and red buff last longer on you, and you need that because red buff is just optimal for ganks. That additional slow means you have higher effective attack speed again, because when the enemy is not running so fast away from you, then you can catch up to him after auto-attacking him faster and then do the next attack. And well, increasing your effective attack speed means also increasing your effective cooldowns, decreasing your effective cooldowns on Skarner, and that means you can use your abilities more often, as I said. And slows generally, of course, also prolong the duration of time you have to deal damage to the enemy you gank, because he will take more time to get from his current position to his own tower if he's slowed. That's just well, obvious, of course. I'm just formulating that. So that's on the red buff. On blue buff, that's even more important, because you really need the mana regeneration, because if you spam your abilities, then your mana replenishes really fast. You will also get some mana items just to make the mana regeneration from blue buff even more effective, even stronger. Because blue buff doesn't give you a fixed amount of mana regeneration, a fixed flat amount of mana regeneration, but rather a percentage of your maximum mana is replenished per second. So just make sure to grab some mana items. There are some really useful on Skarner, and yeah, you'll be good. Cooldown reduction, of course, also great part. That's once more important for your ganks. The more often you can use your Q and W again, then yeah, the better it actually is for you, of course, when ganking. It also speeds up your jungle, so you really want those buffs, you really want them, and that's why this mastery point, this one mastery point is spent really well. The other in the utility tree are spent on the flash summoner spell cooldown reduction, and then summoner spell cooldown reductions. Oh yeah, and mana regeneration in the first tier. So you're good to go, basically. Runes, Masteries, Summoner spell. Oh yeah, already mentioned, I take Flash. Flash is the only viable Summoner spell on Skarner, adding to Smite. Smite, of course, is mandatory. There's no alternate option to Smite when you're jungling. But the second spell just has to be Flash. You may think, well, Ghost is pretty good, and you can catch up to the enemies and ult them, but that's rubbish, because when you use your Ghost and then run to catch an enemy, they see that and they have enough reaction time to run away from that. And you are a lot faster with Ghost than your teammates. That means you may eventually grab them somewhere, well, far behind, as they can run away quite a long time, but then eventually you catch up. But that doesn't help you anything, because you grab them and you pull them back maybe, but your team isn't there because you just ran faster than they did. So it's not really effective. And for ganks, on top lane I think it might be even better to have Ghost to gank top lane, but for bot lane and most importantly for mid lane, you just really need the Flash to close the gap fast. On bot lane, that's the reason, because the enemy support will most likely CC you, maybe slow you or something, and then you have to catch up actually fast because you don't have so much time. Enemy AD carry will be far back then again. So when you initiate a teamfight with Flash, then you can flash into the enemy team or near the enemy team and immediately ultimate someone before he's able to react in any way. And that's a lot better. A lot more useful. So in terms of explaining and tutorial wise, we're just still at a point before the game actually starts. You have to catch up since we're already in minute 18 and stuff is happening here already. You guys can watch it. Ah, that was mean. That was a mean kill Seal did there. Should be ashamed of that. I didn't like that Darius, he was flaming me, and so just fought. Nah, actually I thought I could maybe save him. I muted him anyway, so I don't know how he reacted. I didn't really care, just poor flamer. Alright, so to the jungling route, well, we had that already. How to use your abilities when ganking. That's quite self-explanatory. You use your W to run in with the increased movement speed and close the gap. Then hit your Q the first time you can also already charge that on minions. It doesn't have to be the enemy champion. If you don't catch up to him that fast, then maybe you will charge it up, because the slow component of your Q is only added on the buffed version, the charged version of your Q. So when it also does magical damage. So maybe charge it up at the minions on the lane where you're ganking, and then when you're finally managed to get to the enemy champion that you gank, then you can cast your Q and immediately slow him. Because no, that's just it. That's the way you use it. Your E, when you hit it, it does actually a quite amount of damage. It scales, the damage component scales pretty well with ability power. So when you got some ability power, and even just that way, it is some damage. But the best thing about it is, of course, it's heal. So feel free to use it. Try to get many minion hits with that as well, and then trigger them if you're a bit low on health, because that can heal you up. Maybe when you're counter ganked or something, or have to hold the lane, something worked out not that well, or preparing for a tower dive, I don't know, anything. If you just lost your health from tower diving and then want to jungle again but you're too low, then you can basically freely heal from the enemy minions on the lane by using that E on many of them and then triggering it. The heal is actually diminished on further targets hit, so if you got 2 or maybe let's say 3 targets hit with that E, then additional targets hit by the same E won't give you so much health back. It's negligible actually. But you should really try to hit at least 2 targets with that. Okay, the ultimate does magical damage, so does your E, and it's all scaling with ability power. So far. Okay, so we covered that. You use your ultimate. You should try to use it only when you really have to, in order to get the kill. Try to get kills without using it, then you have it up for maybe difficult ganks, harder ganks, where it's harder to get a kill. And you really don't want to waste it. When you used it and it's on cooldown and you want to have it soon again, as fast as possible, then in the jungle don't use your Q and only use your E as far as you need to heal up. Basically just use your W to farm the minions, because then you have the highest amount of single auto attacks on each monster layer. And that means the highest amount of basically flat cooldown reduction through your passive. So the more auto attacks you can deal and the faster, that means the more E you use and the less the monsters take damage from any other source, including your other abilities, then the faster your ultimate will be off cooldown again. And enemies will be surprised how fast then you actually have it up again and use it. So one great thing about Skarner is really his stickiness. He has his own move speed increase, and then he can slow enemies with red buff and even without red buff with his Q. And that means he can attack them all the time, even if they're running away from them. And that means he can use his abilities all the time. That's just what making him strong. I think we're finally at the point where we can start talking about items actually. Quite unfortunate that I didn't come to that any earlier, but let's start with that now. There is no optimal build on Skarner or something. I really vary my item build depending on how the game works out, how strong am I being fed? How far ahead are we? How far away is the enemy team? What kind of damage are they dealing? That's also important. Are they auto attack dependent? Do they do more physical or magical damage? And yeah, then you basically start building up. One item you should always try to get is the Spirit Stone. You start with Hunter's Machete and of course 5 heal pots as any jungler, almost any jungler nowadays. And then you build that Spirit Stone first item together with Easy Boots. You need the Spirit Stone mostly for the mana regeneration, and of course the damage buff is nice as well. And with that you can use your abilities sometimes in jungle without losing mana too quickly. That means you can, well, work out and basically continue jungling without blue buff, without getting so fast, and that's great. The health regeneration is also nice, because that means you don't have to use your E when jungling, because that uses mana pretty much, and you can just use auto attacks and your Q. The Q does more damage compared to its mana cost than the E. So if you don't need E's here heal, then you can just save up your mana for using your Q more often. So Spirit Stone, really good item. Is more useful on Skarner than the Wriggles, even though the Wriggles, with your higher attack speed, Wriggles isn't a bad item at all. But I think you'll go better with Spirit Stone. You don't have to upgrade it in anything, it's really cheap. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just better that way. So you got Spirit Stone, Easy Boots. Your advanced boots, you should think about what's the enemy team like. I actually prefer in almost any situation boots of swiftness, because of the additional stickiness. You're faster that way. The Masteries boots increase your base movement speed. That means your speed buff from your W, from Crystalline Exoskeleton, is higher actually. You gain more additional movement speed when you got those boots than any enhanced movement 2 boots. That wouldn't increase base movement speed as much as those do. Additionally, many people didn't notice that they have been buffed with an additional effect that wasn't on them earlier. It's a slow reduction, 25%. That's pretty nice. Because before Season 3, Mercury Threats were the only option to reduce crowd control effects in any way. So you just basically all the time in any situation needed Mercury Threats to get the crowd control reduction. But now you can get Tenacity by other means, and the slow reduction is a nice alternative, reducing the effectiveness of slows instead of just reducing the length of the effect, the duration. However, of course, this doesn't work on any other effects as Tenacity does. It's only about slows, but still nice buff. Nice movement speed. So I prefer them. If the enemies, however, have a, well, high magic damage and much CC, much non-slow CC, I should say, then you would be better with Mercury Threats. And if the enemies are strong auto attackers, or later on maybe, you want to sell those and swap them for Ninja Tabi, in order not to get too much damage. So generally, when you're building up Skarner, you're trying to balance it out. You want to build damage especially if you're fed, as much as possible. That means not just damage, but you want ability power, basically. But you also have to build... they stole it, yeah? Sneaky. I unfortunately had my smite on cooldown, but never mind. So you have to build as tanky as necessary to get to the enemy team and grab some of your ultimate and get out of there and still be able to fight effectively. If you're too squishy because you just build damage items, then you're gonna have a bad time and you're gonna lose a fight, game, even if you were far ahead, just because you're useless in team fights and you can be shut down. Don't forget, you're a melee champion. You can't stand in the back lines or something, you have to be at the front, and there you have to be able to take a beating. So defensive items you're gonna like to get. Don't forget absorption shields as your W is. Always take your resistances into account. That means comparing between getting a high health pool versus getting high resistances, you profit stronger from getting higher resistances than, well, average champions because of that absorption shield. Because that means that you get higher effective HP from your absorption shield, which is nice, of course. Well, then again, against resistances you have to decide what kind of damage you will face more and then build stronger on armor or less armor and more magic resist. There are still two core items that are independent of the enemy team composition that you should always get. The first one is Glacial Shroud and the second one is Sheen. Sheen is an offensive item, both give you mana actually, but Sheen also gives you ability power and this really great passive. The Spellblade is just so strong on Skarner, since every time you use your Q, then you can catch up to an enemy and immediately auto-attack him. After an auto-attack, you'll use your Q again, and then auto-attack again. And you get so many Sheen procs that it's just great. You really benefit from the Spellblade effect of Sheen. And, well, as you also benefit from mana and ability power, that's just great, really important item to get. On the other hand, the Glacial Shroud is necessary for the armor because, well, basically sometimes when you're ganking, then it often will not get around taking one or two tower shots, and then the armor is nice. It's also nice in the jungle. You don't lose so much HP, that means you don't have to use your E so often, that means you don't have to spend so much mana on using your E. The cooldown reduction, of course, great, so you have to use your abilities in fights, in ganks, no matter what. So Glacial Shroud just great. So I usually get Glacial Shroud right after getting the easy boots, even before upgrading to advanced boots, because the tankiness just helps you so much in jungle. And then the Sheen next. Then you'll have to think about, well, either getting the how's it called, Iceborne Gauntlet by combining the Glacial Shroud and the Sheen. That's maybe the first thing you think of when you hear both of them are core items, but it's not always good. But you use that against, well, decent amount of a decent balance of damage types, then it's a good item. If the enemies are heavily reliant on their attack speed, however, you should not build Glacial Shroud into the Iceborne Gauntlet, but rather make a Frozen Heart out of it. And I decided to do that in that game, because they have Xin Zhao, Draven and Teemo, and all three champions really need their attack speed. Renekton a bit as well, but not that much. But for them 3, it's just devastating. Don't forget the aura, the 20% goes from the total enemy attack speed, whereas attack speed items go from base enemy attack speed. So it's actually, it does really decrease their effective DPS by 20%, and that's really high. You also get a high mana pool out of it, and even higher cooldown reduction than from Glacial Shroud, so Frozen Heart, great item. But it would be bad to have both Frozen Heart and the Iceborne Gauntlet, because then with the other items you're gonna get, you'll probably have more than 40% of cooldown reduction, and that means you just basically wasted gold in the cooldown reduction stat. So you should try to avoid that. So against heavy attack damage and attack speed reliant enemy team, then you should build it into Frozen Heart. And from your Sheen, you should rather build Trinity Force then. That's the next best item you can build, because it's also some HP, and slow proc sometimes kicks in. You don't really need that, but it's also a nice addition with the HP and stuff, and movement speed, always a good option. But you don't have to get Trinity Force too early, first off. It's just basically sometimes worth getting it fast if you can, if you're ahead, because you have to have many open item slots to build it. Otherwise you will have to wait pretty long to have all the high cost of it, if you don't have the space in your inventory to get the components first. Okay, so far Trinity Force, you get that. Otherwise rather Iceborne Gauntlet, and if you got only the Iceborne Gauntlet, or well, actually never minding if your enemy team does much magic damage, then the first effective item that you should get is the Spirit Visage. Because, yeah, obviously you profit from the cooldown reduction again, and it gives you some tankiness with the health, and on top of the health then the high magic resistance, and it also increases your healing amount, of course. That's what Spirit Visage does. So you should use that item pretty well. One item you should, basically 2 items you should try to get. One is really important. I started building it here from the Hextech Revolver. I was about to build Hextech Gunblade. It's a rather offensive item, but it gives you much survivability, because the spell vamp is really high, and you also get lifesteal by, well, with your high attack speed, and that does also mount. Then you have a distant slow. That's really useful, because you can use it on a very much higher distance to your enemy already than from your Q to slow them. So you can use that to catch up to an enemy, get into range for your Q slows, and immediately as soon as you have them, then you don't need any other slows anymore. But that's important. Other items you should get, well, that depends. In that game I was really fat, so I went for just straight for Rabadons. Finish it early. High ability power. It's also scaling really well with your spell vamp stat that you build. So I was able to keep my health up in teamfights. That's always the matter. You have to keep your health up. And I can manage that in this game, because I was ahead and fat, by getting high ability power and spell vamp. With my E and my shield, that was enough to keep me at decent health, and then I could use the offensive items, Rabadon's ability power amount, to also deal much damage. In an average game where you're not too far ahead, well, maybe you should still try to get Rabadons, but then you need more defensive items. That be said. You could go for Warmogs or whatever. Randuin's Omen, also an option. Just anything, just build depending on the enemy team. But if you basically play him well, then Skarner is a champion that can really force a decision in a game earlier, and maybe you can avoid being forced to build that tanky by avoiding the game to take too long. That's not that good. Later on, if the enemy team is full equipped and sticking together and the enemy D carry is positioning well, then your ultimate is not that useful anymore, because you hardly get a chance to use it. Your enemy team is reacting already and they may kite you. Skarner is easily kited. That's also a reason why you have flash. And yeah, you should always try to finish the game as soon as possible. Just what I did here, of course, as well. I was not able to... I didn't have the time just to focus on the gameplay much. I just kept the camera on Skarner, so you were hopefully able to watch what I did. Maybe if you just focused on what I was explaining in the video, then you will try maybe just watch the game again and maybe just mute it and watch the gameplay. Then you see how to make successful ganks and stuff. This game really pretty much carried okay. Anivia at some point said to me that I should try to let them more kills, which is true. She had a point there, should have tried that. And I don't know why I didn't. I just thought I could manage to carry that alone. One important thing when you are that far ahead is you have to try to you don't that's difficult to explain. You're not allowed to sit back in any way. Maybe just think, I'm gonna farm now, or I don't want to take any risks. I don't want to lose my legendary kill streak or something, because that means the enemy team will catch up again. You should try to put the maximum pressure on the enemy team at any given time that you just can, especially as a jungler. Always just look at the situation, see, well, maybe I could get kills there, we could kill them there, we could get a tower there. Pushing towers also very, very important. And then try to force them into the defensive, just claim the upper hand in the game and use it to finish the game actually. Don't let it slip off your hands again. Yeah, so if you watch the video you see that this is exactly what I did here. I did not give them a chance to come back and always, well, was there killing them as I had the opportunity, sometimes going high risks, or seemingly high risks. For that you need experience to judge a situation on how much damage are you going to take, how much are you able to heal yourself up with your current items. Also maybe take the enemy magic resistance into account. And yeah, by judging that, you need to feel for it, and then you can do amazing things with Skarner. You just saw, you just watched. 23-0-10 is amazing. Just carried, and we finished it. Well, it was a nice game. Hope you had fun watching. And I had so much to say on jungle Skarner. Really, I feel like I'm not halfway finished yet. I just really hope I didn't let out anything that is important. I hope I didn't forget much important, but that's if that's really possible. I'm an experienced Skarner player, so if you have any questions on playing Skarner or something and I didn't cover it in this video, then just really ask them in the comments below and I'll surely answer them watching the comments and explain it that, and maybe do another video, but I hope I got everything important so far. On item decisions, yeah, I think I'm quite done with that. So I hope it was useful for you guys, and have some great games with Skarner, and see you around soon again. Bye!